My name is also Joe Cibotti. I'm one of the patrolmen here with the Westborough Police Department. And unfortunately, most of you are wanting to see that charisma smile of the Chief Laurie today. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but unfortunately the Chief and Deputy Chief were unable to make it today. They're in actually a little bit of training this week to pick up some certifications. So they've asked me to step in and just kind of talk to you a little bit about what our role here in community engagement team and community policing today. Just a little bit of history about myself. I've been with the Westborough Police Department for almost 5 years now, hired in October of 2017. And I have a little bit of almost 20 years of law enforcement experience underneath my belt. So I've been around the block. My time was spent working on a couple college campuses in the Boston area before making the transition over to Westborough. So today the Chief has asked me to talk a little bit about what our community engagement team is. And I'm just going to give you a little history of kind of where we are in policing and the community engagement and community policing world. Just a little bit of history about community policing. A long time ago, way back in the day of 1829, it actually was linked to Sir Robert Peel of how his principles are, of how engaging the community and policing is. As it continued to evolve into the 20th century of policing, police work actually became a little bit more reactive. And a lot of it became a more us against them mentality of police work. But we realized that's really not a good way to do it. We really need the help of the public to help solve problems. A lot of times, you'll see if members of our police department on a walking beat. By show of hands, you're from communities that you came from. Do you remember a walking beat in your town? Quite a few of you. So that's how you get to know the police officer. You get to know their name, how they interacted with the public, what their family was, made a personal inner connection with them. And that's what we're trying to get back to now in law enforcement, is how can we understand police work and how it involves the community and how we can work together to solve problems. So in Westborough here, we are the community engagement team. That's what we want to do. We want to engage our community in how we can resolve problems and make this Westborough just a little bit better place to be. Some of the things that we've been working with, are speeding, for example. Okay? I know that's a big main concern for a lot of people in town. All right? We've been having a traffic officer go around and try to deal with issues. Okay? But these are how problems come to us. How can we resolve and work better with you? In the meantime, you bring the information to us, working together. And that's the goal of the community engagement team. Making issues and making them be resolved. Currently, there are 8 members of the Westborough Police Department on the community engagement team. And it's overseen by one supervisor, his name is Greg Shipwright. And just some things that we do. We're out there in the community, and we interact with a lot of outside groups. So for example, last night, I was giving a talk to a Girl Scout troop on how 911 is used, and the types of calls that are answered that might be asked when you call. Not be scared, what your location is. So these are issues that, hey, work with the police department, get a little bit of information out there. Another group I know is that we would work during the spring and summertime. We actually work with the Lions group to get the dunk tank. We actually have a connection over with Cumberland Farms. They actually have their own dunk tank. So one year I said, hey, can we borrow your dunk tank and help the Lions save some money? And it actually was a great kind of partnership that we formed, helping them to take that money that they would have to use to rent it and put that back into the community to help out. Other group that we're working with are local church groups. I do a touch a truck events at the First United Methodist Church for young children to come down, see some police cars, fire trucks, ambulances, and all kinds of different tow trucks. But it's a great way to kind of get out there, interact with the community, and while we're there, answer questions. Other groups that we're working with, food groups, and again, other organizations here in town. So, how do we get our message out to people? A lot of times it's through social media, word of mouth, presentations, as in today. Like I said, the community engagement is a very growing aspect of law enforcement. Some departments are actually creating full-time positions just to work within the community. I've seen several other departments doing a comfort dog, so they go in through the school systems or an elderly population. And like I said, a golden retriever or an Aussie Doodle, something like that. A very kind of a loving dog, working with the police department. And just different ideas that the engagement team I've seen before in different departments. What kind of questions do you guys have for me? Ask you at least one. Go ahead.
How large is the total police force?
I'm sorry?
How many people are on the force?
Currently, the current police force we're here in Westborough is 39 people down. Starting with the chief, we have a chief, a deputy chief, 3 lieutenants. We have 5, 6 sergeants, and then the rest of us are patrolling. Yes, ma'am.
I was at your meeting last month about assessment needs. One of the big complaints was getting information from the police and fire department. That senior citizens don't always have a computer or an iPad to get on social media. What are the other ways you could start communicating with the senior citizens?
That's a great question. So, yes, technology also is an ever-evolving issue with a lot of people. One area that we've actually been trying to work with, actually with the senior center here, is actually going to the newsletter. We try to get that out there. I'm not sure if some of you subscribe to that. We also can try to get information out to you via the, like I said, with Westborough TV, for those information a little bit. So, does that answer your question?
To a certain extent.
Okay.
I still think you need more outreach to the senior citizens.
Well, that's part of our goal, is to get out there.
That was the big complaint.
Yeah, absolutely. I said that's part of our goal, is to get out there and do more outreach and things like that, to get the message out there.
Also, is there any other talk about teledoc or home assessments for seniors, so you don't have to get to the doctor or the hospital?
That
does exist?
Very well. I'm unaware of it at this current time, but I will look into it, and I will make sure I get an answer back to you.
There's another one asked at that meeting, and I think it was asked with your chief for last time.
It very well could have. Like I said, I'm not quite sure. I'm not unfamiliar with it myself, but I make sure I will get you an answer.
You've never heard of teledoc?
I've very briefly heard of the term of it, so. Yes.
Once a month down here, like you're doing right now.
What's that?
They can get information. Right.
Yep. That's why I'm here. I said I'm out and about. If you see a police officer, I'm out in different social engagements. And that's what we're here for, to ask me different questions, things of that nature.
One of the prostitutes.
Yes, ma'am.
The free newspaper, Community Advocate, is something many people look at.
Absolutely.
If you need a short little article.
Yeah, they've approached us in a couple different events to get our message out there. That's a great resource. Thank you. What else? Any questions on the engagement side of things? Any programs would you like to see, potentially?
Do you have any, like, public safety workshops that you do with anybody? I know we had one in Worcester where I work, and that was useful. So the big thing was, lock your parcels in the trunk of your car, so it was not very sophisticated.
It actually makes a great point. I'm hoping that actually two of our detectives, I've asked them to come up here today. I told them around 9 o'clock. And hopefully they'll be up here for just a short, brief presentation, actually. We've seen an actually uptick in scams right now with not just elder populations. I get calls trying to get money from me. And they actually have a presentation that they're going to give, and it's actually very informative. And I've actually asked them to see if they could meet with us today and give you folks just a little bit of information on how to basically protect yourselves a little bit better. So I'm hoping that they'll be here in just a short bit to give that to you. Yes, folks?
Now, if we have a telephone number of one of these scammers, what can we do with it? I got $8 million yesterday in the car. I didn't answer it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the scammers they're so, you can basically take my number, my cell phone number or my house number, and they can transpose it onto their telephone number.
Why can't the telephone company stop that though?
Technology, they're working on things. I don't have the best answer for you. Hopefully one of our detectives will be up here to answer that, but unfortunately, it's technology that's way beyond my capability, and sometimes I've seen my own telephone number show up on my phone, and I'm like,
Them had that too.
how am I calling myself? So, you know, I'm like, I must be maybe back in the future or something like that. So
So the answer is, it doesn't do any good to give you the phone numbers.
the phone numbers, they can be, but a lot of times now, they're a dime a dozen. You know, there are cell phones out there that people just use, you know, just for one time, stuff like that. People can transpose those telephone numbers, you know, and use them multiple times. So the telephone number is not usually in, but in that regards, if you're able to get an email, emails actually have a trace on their numbers, and our detectives unit can actually get subpoenas to go to these companies and actually see kind of where, so every email has an IP address, or basically what's their kind of like signature, and tell them where it's coming from. So with a little bit of research into that nature, they actually can trace that email back to like a computer or a person that it's registered to.
I think we had a workshop, was it a year, maybe before COVID, that was on a little bit about everything, safety in your house, security values. They had it here, I think. I don't remember about it, but I know you did have it. You're telling, make sure you lock it, you know, your doors,
Correct.
or your windows, just as a little entrance scene. It was here, so maybe that would be
Absolutely.
another.
That's something we can definitely kind of bring back and get that message back out to people. So, like I said, we are always looking to kind of make sure that we get the right information out to you folks. You know, and if, like I said, any other things that you want to bring up, you can definitely. Yes, ma'am.
Somebody uses a VPN, so
Potentially. I don't know. Actually, our Sergeant Detective Josh Croft, he actually, his specialty is kind of technology and things of that nature, and that's kind of what he works on almost every day. And he would be able to answer that question, but he definitely knows more of the technical side of things.
What was the question?
If you use a VPN, basically a VPN is basically a telephone number through your computer.
Oh.
So if you're, let's say, people working from home, so instead of using your home number, you can actually use a number created and it just assigned to your computer. You have a question?
Yesterday, something popped up on my computer that a woman in Westborough her life was saved because she had this little gadget that you pull the pin and because she was accosted supposedly at one of the shopping centers. The guy wanted her pocketbook, and she pulled the pin and it made such a loud noise that he ran away. And thought, I don't know that I would have enough forethought to be able to do that if he's trying to grab me and my pocketbook, but I don't know, of course they were trying to sell this little gadget.
Sure.
You know, but I don't know if you heard anything about that.
I haven't, there are devices out there, obviously, that make noise and distractions. Basically, if someone were to rob you, our best advice is just give them what they want. It's not worth getting hurt over. The pocketbook, the money, the credit cards, those all can be replaced. You know, but your life and any injuries, those are the long-term things that we don't want to be affected. So if somebody's going after your wallet or purse, just let them go have it. But there are, again, things out there. People just want to get in quickly, take your items and leave. That's the name of the game for them. What other questions can I ask or answer for you folks? Yes, ma'am.
Is there any sort of CPR classes for adults? Is there anything that exists now?
Currently not with the police department. That's usually handled by the fire department. But that's something I can definitely contact the fire department with, and if that's something we'd be interested in, we could probably talk about getting a class together to that nature, and maybe doing a presentation up here for the seniors. Yes, sir.
Many of the roads in Westborough have a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. My daughter lives in Ames Street. They
have a townwide speed limit of 25 miles an hour. That was opposed by a lot of people. The police chief up there had it through the town. Now it's in place everywhere. I wonder if there are any zones in Westborough pursuant to lower the speed limits.
Currently, that's not, it's not a proposal right now by the chief to make a town-wide speed limit. There are cities, like Boston, for example, Amesbury, that may make all of your roads one speed limit. I have not heard of any proposals right now from the chief or anybody from the town select board about making the town a completely one speed limit as of right now.
Well, even zones.
So currently, most residential zones, if you're in a neighborhood and it's thickly settled, it's 30 miles an hour. There are also posted speed limits which would change that. So, example, let's say Route 9 is posted 55 miles an hour in most areas. And up on East Main Street, on the Southborough side, that's posted 35 miles an hour. Again, there's other posted areas that would be different than 30 miles an hour, but in a general rule things, if you're in a neighborhood or on any roads, it's probably around 30 miles an hour.
It might be helpful to have the chief or someone in the police department talk to the police department.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great proposal. Like I said, there are some communities that are going to just a town-wide one speed limit. It's very helpful for a lot of traffic enforcement. It's one speed limit. We're trying to reduce the numbers of crashes and things like that and injuries. So obviously reducing speeds and any major roadway, and that's one part of it that helps reduce crashes and injuries. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. One of my friends was asking when they're going to put the traffic lines on Lyman Street where they everything.
Yes, ma'am. That project, I believe, I'm not sure if it's run through either the funding was through the state or the town. If it's through the town itself, the DPW, they should be doing that hopefully relatively soon. It does definitely need to be done to make sure people kind of understand, what lanes are there and just for traffic safety concerns. So let me look and see maybe contact the DPW and see if they have a time frame for that when that project might be completed. Yep.
It's a big space.
You're right. I've driven on it many times, even personally, and the cruisers, and all those little things right now. There's stickers. So when you do a paving job, just for temporary reasons, they put actually like little orange or white stickers just to kind of create a temporary lane until the pavement can be marked, for permanently. So when we contact the DPW and see what time, if there's a time frame for when those pavement markers will be done. Anything else, folks? Yes, ma'am.
Somebody started wanting to cross the street and stop for them. Part the understanding was you could not go until they reached the other side of the street. And yet I see people here, persons just barely past the front bumper and off the car goes.
Correct. So I understand that. Actually,
Can you repeat the question?
the question was, so when someone crosses the roadway and a crosswalk, crosswalks?
Yes.
So let's say the crosswalk, the person is going to be crossing the roadway. As soon as they cross kind of that first half in front of the vehicle, that person goes and drives behind them. Okay? And actually the question was, is there a law or anything like that saying, or is there a rule saying that they're supposed to continue to stop? The answer to your question is technically they're supposed to be if you're within 8 feet of a vehicle, you have to stop. And so if that person's crossing the roadway, let's say on your side of the roadway, you have to stop until, but the other side technically can still continue until that person gets to 8 feet of the center line. Most roadways, it's only a few feet off the curb. So, but the answer to your question is, as soon as they safely cross in front of you, you're supposed to stop and wait until they safely cross the roadway.
Okay, we have in school zones, we have 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. But when school is not in session, like a vacation week or weekends, other times, that sign is still up. So I think it tends to make people ignore it all the time.
Correct. So the school zone is a 20-mile-an-hour zone when school is in session. That's what it is, and then usually there's some, like over at Hastings, over on East Main Street, there are flashing lights over there. But when school session is not in session, that those are, that's times where the speed limit is at, the posted whatever. So let's say for East Main Street, it's 30 miles an hour. So it'd be a 30-mile-an-hour zone on the weekends, for example, but as soon as the school goes into effect for certain times, and when the lights are flashing, it's a 20-mile-an-hour zone.
But it'll say 20 even if school is not in session, so
Correct.
that's not it.
I think battery just died. Everybody, I hope you all can hear me. So yes, so like I said, when it's school's in session, it's a 20-mile-an-hour
Yeah,
zone.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel that you train people, you should keep things consistent, because it trains people that the school zone go slow. I think if you have a week of fast and a week of slow, it could be very confusing for the people living here because they get used to whatever. So sometimes it's caution more than anything. The other thing, what are they thinking about for the Flanders Road going into the main street? That is a problem, and that is courtesy. They only get through by courtesy. Somebody stops and, lets them go, you flash a light, but something legitimate should be there to help the people coming out of Flanders Road once it's all finished.
Sure. I agree with you. The question is about, yes, the question was about the intersection of Flanders Road and East Main Street, how traffic gets backed up and how people, as a courtesy, has to let you out. There are some traffic studies out there that actually are considering putting a traffic light there to help alleviate that. I don't know what stage that is currently right now, but there is potential mention about putting a traffic light in there to help alleviate traffic on Flanders Road onto East Main Street.
Now that's state of it, that's the state has to make a decision on that, correct?
Partially, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to do a study of how many vehicles are on the roadway, what the speed limits are, time of day. And again, all these different factors go into whether or not, if that's even.
Because I think there was a question even at West Meadow, coming out of West Meadow, because that's a busy road getting onto 9, and I think we had asked Jeff, who said that.
Anything else, Bill? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry for too many questions.
No, that's what I'm here for.
I know, Glenn McLeod explained to me the reason the traffic lights are off in the morning so traffic can leave. And often, I think 2 people I saw make a wonderful, successful left turn across traffic. But if you could encourage people to take a right turn, go down to a parking lot or something and, come back, it would make a lot more sense. And a lot of people's reactions are not quite up to left turns that I get in the morning.
Yeah, unfortunately, people are gonna go with the most convenient things of traffic. If you tell people that, instead of taking a left, they need to go down and turn right and then take another right, it's just, for them, it's just not gonna use up to their kind of lifestyle and kind of convenience of things, so. Like I said, we try to do our best, out there with the enforcement of things and, getting the message out to people.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So part of the question was, how many people are part of the community engagement? Currently, right now, there are 8 of us. My role, I guess, is kind of coordinator, we're the team leader, and then we have also looked at members of our general membership of our patrolman officers. We go out there and do different events. Then we're all overseen by one supervisor, named Sergeant Greg Chipperett, and then he reports to Lieutenant Mike Daniels, who we kind of do everything know. So that's kind of the chain of command on how our group works for that nature. And we also have different specialties within the police umbrella itself. We have a crime scene unit. I'm on the flight team. There are also detectives. Then there's also kind of different other special units out there, kind of within the umbrella of the Westborough Police Department. Yes.
people also patrol, or is this your job just?
So currently my main focus, I'm a patrol officer. So you call for needed services or a car accident or medical, that's my main function right now. And then kind of on the side or part of integrated with my duties as a patrol officer is what the engagement part of it is. Yes, ma'am.
I just moved into town. Route 9, it was a disaster to drive. And we have 45 miles an hour. The people would not move left. I've seen them go from left, right, left, and everything else to get away from it. Lots of stuff.
Well, you know,
And I've gotten the horn too, to that, because I'm driving too slow.
yeah, no. Route 9, there's thousands of, as everybody knows, there's thousands of vehicles, you know, on that road, you know, daily, you know, coming from the east, you know, the Framingham area, Worcester on our west, you know, back and forth. You remember Route 9 was the mass plate a long time ago. You know, that's how people commuted back and forth to get across the state. So yes, there's a lot and lots of traffic on Route 9.
But I mean, why do they put people, you know, one on 45, another one can go up, then another place is something else.
So Route 9.
So what is the speed limit on Route 9?
So there's sections of Route 9 which is 55 miles an hour, and there's also sections which is 45 miles an hour. Route 9 is actually overseen by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, and they're the ones who actually set the speed limit out there
Boy,
on Route 9.
you can get yourself killed on that real easy.
Yeah, speeding is quite a bit on
Oh, I mean, and
Route 9.
motorcycles go wild. Jesus.
Yes, sir.
They're doing a lot of improvements on the intersections. They just finished Lyman Street. Now they're going up to Otis Street.
Yeah.
So that, the one on Lyman Street is a lot better now.
Correct.
Crossing.
Yep, so like I said,
But the speed limit, really, how are you gonna do about it?
Oh, God.
so I said this. The Department of Transportation also came in and they did a study on how many vehicles were coming through, what the speed limit was, and how can they improve that intersection of Lyman Street. So, talking about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, they came in, they widened it a little bit, they raised up the lights to make them a little bit higher so that they don't get hit by trucks. Trust me, it happens. I've been out on Otis Street now, and next thing you know, a dump truck goes by and the traffic lights on the ground, stuff like that. So, so the state is also looking at improving the intersection of Otis Street. Obviously, you've had quite a number of serious accidents out on Otis Street, whether or not it be the timing of the lights or how many lanes are turning, things of that nature. So that's the next kind of project that the state is looking at and how they can improve that. So, yes, sir.
What's the split of your responsibility from the state police? Do they have some service, do you have some service? How does that relationship work?
So, actually, great question. The question was, what's our relationship with the state police and our responsibilities? So, Route 9, for example, is technically a state highway, okay? Can the state police go up there and do enforcement? Absolutely, yes, they can. That's part of their job. It's kind of an understanding with local police departments that from Route 9, from Wellesley, westbound, is primarily patrolled by local police departments. From the Wellesley-Newton border inbound, that's patrolled by the state police. But again, if we have issues out on Route 9 with that, there's been times where we have accidents, hey, I need some extra help, we call the state police, because technically that is a state highway. But primarily, towns patrol Route 9, again, from the Wellesley-Newton border westbound. Westward. Yes, ma'am.
I've noticed when you read the police log in the newspaper, for the town of Westborough, it's not very often local. It's people coming from all around.
Sure.
I mean, the safety and I think the people that live in the town are aware of rules and so forth. But it's always, about 99% of the time, it's out of town.
Sure. The question was, a lot of times we read the police log, you know, there are people that are mentioned are not from Westborough. And you are correct, like I said, Westborough is it's a great community to be part of. But we also have people coming in through this, town. So, and that's some of the interactions that we've had with them on the law enforcement side of things. What else?
I live right across from the Knights of Columbus, and it seems like every morning, at least 4 or 5 times I can hear sirens. And those are our local people then that are responding, probably most of the time, to me dying.
Yeah, as I said, so obviously like being right near close to East Main Street, it's a major thoroughfare to get through town. You'll hear, if you hear sirens, most likely, it's, the police department or the fire department or the ambulance, responding to somewhere. Obviously, you've seen a lot of traffic on East Main Street on the afternoon part. How I've seen it backed up almost all the way to the Hastings School, trying to get to the Rotary. But if we have to get through an emergency, we use our siren, and we have to get there in a timely manner. So.
Appreciate it.
Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I remember in one of his speeches, the chief said that if you're having a traffic problem, make sure you check in with the department or send online a notice, and that he had, I think, called somebody in early in the morning because there was a speeder at 5:30.
Sure.
And I believe they caught him.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, actually, if you go onto the town website, onto the police department, at the very bottom of the page, there'll be a traffic complaint request. Click on that. You'll fill in the form. It'll say your name, a telephone number, your address, the type of complaint that you're looking at. Is it speeding? Is it school zone? The time of day? Any information that you can provide to us, that's more information that we can help kind of get out there. And then another question is, we ask you to use your driveway. Because there's sometimes roads that are just very narrow. Between mailboxes or just the way the road is, you can just use your driveway just to park the cruiser and you can kind of do some enforcement. So all those traffic requests go to the supervisor or the traffic unit, and then they can assign me. Say today, it's my day off. Let's say on Thursday I work 4 to 12. My supervisor might come to me during roll call at 4 o'clock and say, hey Joe, you got a traffic complaint over on Ruggles Street. Okay, let's say at Mount Pleasant, for example, people coming down the hill fast. One of the residents, made a complaint on the website. Can you go and you sit in their driveway and do some radar enforcement? I go over there, I find their address, and I say, hey, and I call the radio, okay, I'm going to be off this area for traffic enforcement. So those things those messages that you folks send to us get relayed on to me as a patrol officer as well.
Too many people drive in town. We do that. Too many.
Yeah,
too much traffic.
Well, we have
GPS.
cards
It's
yet,
not going to get better.
GPS sends them,
Yeah.
because I live up by the reservoir, and now I have friends who live in Upton and that, and they up there in Upton, they're sending them up Spring Road to go that way because it's shorter.
Yeah.
And of course with the bridge being out,
Yeah.
in Hopkins, but still, it's constant.
Yeah, like I said, GPS is a great thing. I'm old enough to know. I remember having a map book when I started kind of driving, and I'm like, all right, if I take this road north, I'll find this road and kind of connect it. Then it was, I'm going on the computer, getting printed out directions. GPS is a great thing, but a little bit of common sense as well. It does kind of go a long way. We've had truck drivers, as you know, that bridge has been, how many times that bridge has been struck? Many times. We've put flashing lights up there, we put signs and stuff like that. Still gets hit, I was following my GPS, it's just like, I was following my GPS, but I know my truck's like 13 feet, but the bridge is 12.6. I go, I'm not a super mathematician, but I go, it's like 13, 12.6. There's some type of issue. So, but they'll still try it, and next thing you know, we have a tin can on the roadway. Well, I want to just thank you all for having me this morning. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Said you want to